Hello everyone. We are truly blessed today to have Jim McCarty with us for an informal meeting to answer some questions about the Law of One. If you're not already familiar, the Law of One is a channeled series of messages from a civilization of extraterrestrial beings who identified themselves as Ra. This material was received over a period of 3 years from 1981 to 1984 by three dedicated seekers of truth Don Elkins, Carla Rueckert, and Jim McCarty. The Law of One is published by LL Research, where LL stands for Love and Light, which is a non-profit organization committed to discovering and sharing knowledge to support the spiritual evolution of humankind. Now, let's dive in and hear Jim's profound wisdom.
First of all, thank you from the bottom of your heart to you, Don and Carla, wherever they are right now, and to your team for the profound and inspiring work that you've given to all of us, selflessly and despite all the difficulties and risks that you had to take, despite losing Don. Sometimes when I go through the passages, I feel so emotionally connected to you all, even though I have not met you all before.
Well, I think the Law of One and the raw contact is like a letter from home. I think it tells you things that you already know because you're part of that.
Yes, I get that. The team has been channeling from the early 70s, right? Then why is raw material so unique? When I go through passages from the conscious channeling sessions, say by Ko or Latvi or Hayton, I find that content equally profound, inspiring, and brilliant as much as the raw material is. So, number one, why is then the raw contact so special or unique? And number two, in any sense, would you say that unconscious channeling is more authentic when compared to conscious channeling?
I believe that the first contact that Don and Carla received back in, Don actually had some other people that were channeling in 1961, and Carla wasn't really interested in the channeling there. She really liked the meditations, but the students that he had taught to channel graduated college from the University of Louisville and got jobs, and so there wasn't anybody else besides Don to do channeling. So he said, Carla, would you be willing to learn how to channel? So that was 1974. And they were channeling a social memory complex from the fourth density called Hatan. Mm-hmm. And she channeled Hatan until 1977. She continued channeling Hatan, but she also got another contact from Latwi, from the fifth density of wisdom. So there was a lot of information that came there that was more advanced than the fourth density of Hatan. So that kind of opened the door, you might say, to possibilities for other energies to come through. Carla was an excellent channel, whether it was conscious channeling or trance channeling. But on the 15th of January, 1981, I had just joined them about 3 weeks earlier. I lived in the country in a log cabin in central Kentucky, and I'd heard about them, and I had the chance to meet them. And so I drove up to Louisville every Sunday night for about a year. And I became familiar with their channeling of Quo and Latwi. And then I helped them move to another house further out of they were closer to downtown when I first met them, out on Waterson Trail, where we eventually had the raw contact. So as I was coming there, they said, well, we really enjoy your vibrations and your company and channeling with you. So would you like to join us? So I said, yeah, I'll do that. And I did not know when the raw attack was going to start. Nobody knew that. So one Wednesday, Don and Carla were training another Sunday night meditation student how to channel. And I was out buying groceries. So when I came home, I interrupted the first session. They didn't know what was going to happen either. So Carla was channeling those of Ra, and apparently she was unconscious. But nobody knew that at the moment. And so in 1.9, Ra mentioned they had to deepen the contact with the instrument, because I just walked in the front door with groceries in my hands and my arms. And so I just kind of tiptoed down the hall into the kitchen and put them away. And so after the session was over, Don, he was really excited. He hardly anything ever excited. He was just really a cool dude, you know. So he said, "Would you mind transcribing this as soon as possible?" And I said, "Now?" "Yes, this is what we've been waiting 19 years for." So I went into my office and I started transcribing on an electric typewriter. And he stood out in the hall waiting for each page to come out. And as I was typing, I said, "Yes, this is very unusual." So that's the way the raw contact started. And after that, we dedicated a room that was in our living room where we had the Sunday night meditations. So we decided we'd dedicate one of the rooms in the home there to just the raw contact. And after that, that's where we had the raw contact. Now, what was the second part of your question?
Is unconscious channeling more authentic than the conscious channeling?
Right. When Carla was channeling Hatan or Latwii, the Confederation always felt that it was appropriate and okay to have part of the channel's personal life journey come out in the channeling. If they thought a percentage was 70% of the Confederation and 30% of the channel. So Carla was such a good channel that I don't think a lot of people could tell the difference between them.
Exactly.
But when she was in trance and not in her body, but she was with Ra, Ra could use the most specific sorts of descriptions and words that were not available to her. Although they did mention themselves that her vocabulary was pretty close to what they had. They knew everything about the English language. But Carla was very intelligent as well as being very spiritual. And from a child, she learned the English language quite quickly. So the channeling from the trance that Carla used for Ra allowed a more specific type of information to be given through her that could use some of her words and experiences, but could be more specific than any other channel we had ever heard. So that was basically the difference.
All right. So session number 1 would be your first unconscious channeling?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Jim. So in the March 11th, 2020 session, Core says that they are of the 4th density of Hatan, 5th density of Latwii, and 6th density of Ra. So does that mean that Ra is also a part of the core social memory complex?
Yes. The way it seems to work is that Ra was able, the reason they got together as a group was that Don was no longer available for the Ra contact. It had to be the three of us, where Ra could not speak through Carla by having her go into trance and leave her body. So they were able to join because she wanted to channel the highest and best. She always asked that in her tuning, her preparation for channeling. And because that's what she wanted to do, the three social memory complexes of Hatan, Latwii, and Ra decided to get together so that Latwii could be the voice. Now, they would always say we are those of Quo, but the ones speaking were actually those of Latwii, and Hatan was giving their love vibrations as a general surrounding to inspire more information. And Ra then was available in what they called a step-down version, where they could not speak, but they could help give concepts to those of Latwii that weren't as specific as they could if they were using Carla while she was in trance and with them. So that was basically it. It was due to Carla's great desire to be of service to the Creator that the Ra contact occurred, and to any contact that she had. She knew Jesus as a child. When she was a young child, you probably know that she had those experiences from the age of 2 to 5 where she went to her magic garden. That was the first time she left her body. And she met Jesus. He never said a word to her, but she knew what unconditional love was. So she was a disciple of Jesus for the rest of her life. So I think that played into her desire to be to channel the highest and best, to be of service to the Creator.
That is so beautiful. All right. So my understanding is that Mother Gaia is already into the 4th density, which happened somewhere around 1930s. And it's just we humans who have not yet chosen either of the polarity. Does it make sense? Is that right? Or
Right.
you do want to
Yeah.
add something to it?
No, Don asked about, Gaia or Mother Earth, and that's where the information that was given said about 40 years ago. So during the raw contact, when we were having that would have been about 1935, that the planet itself had become a fourth density planet, but the population of the planet was scattered between the third and uh, those who were conscious spiritual seekers of truth and who had been able to love each other and all around them at least 51% of the time and were harvestable. They were scattered between the third and the fourth density. And some apparently had even kind of retreated into the orange ray of self-centered consciousness. And I think that might have been referring back in the days before I met Don and Carla. I was part of the hippie generation. And there was a movement back in the 70s to move to the land. Henry David Thoreau said, simplify, simplify. Move to land, build your own homes, grow your own food, homeschool your children, and all of that. So I was part of that movement. But there was another group of people, the survivalists, that thought that the world was coming apart and that they had to protect themselves. And so they were also moving to the land and getting food stored, but also had guns, rifles to protect their food and themselves from what they saw as a collapse of the economy and the world around them. So that might have been the ones that Ra was talking about that had retreated into the orange ray.
So that answers why you chose to go to that cabin thing in the far off land without electricity and food.
Right. Well, that was one of the basic reasons. Just before I did that, I was in a program called Teacher Corps. It's kind of like Peace Corps, but it was meant for the inner city schools that had low income, and to try to help them get better education, because in those areas, sometimes they couldn't afford teachers that could do things that more individualized for. So we got our own classes. We were at the Teacher Corps, and we were able to work with the kids in a way that individualized the education for them and help them to learn according to their own desires and abilities, and treat them as individuals, not just one of a crowd. And when I finished that, I decided I didn't want to continue as a teacher, because actually the kids had more energy than I did. And I didn't think I was doing very well. So one of the books we used in that was called How to Start a School and Write Your Own Book, the Raspberry Exercises. And in the back, I looked at the bibliography, and there was a school, Adventure Trail Survival School at 10,000 feet in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, about 40 miles west of Denver. And that was something that intrigued me. They were talking about how to circuit the consciousness of the brain from the old root stem into the frontal lobes, or what we would call the third eye, or the indigo ray. And so I went there with that intention. And we all had our lean-tos built in different places around the mountainside, out of sight of each other, so we could work with dreams. And the dreams were, if we could record our dreams and ask our subconscious to give us information about how we could work with childhood traumas, where maybe we had been enculturated in what would be called a negative or a challenging way, and we could remove those challenges, and the frontal lobes could be awakened. So I was fortunate in that happened to me, and I had that frontal lobes experience. Teacher there, his name was T.D. Lingo. He said, now, each one teach one. Go and buy some land, start your own school. And I don't know if anybody else did that, but that's why I moved to Central Kentucky. So I was off the grid and about 2 miles away from the nearest neighbor, and up a creek. There's a running creek that was my access road. And so that was my intention. And I did have a couple of classes where I tried to teach them the same thing, but nobody had the same experience that I did. And then I guess it was May 17th, 1979. I had a battery-powered radio, and I was listening to WKQQ radio in Lexington, Kentucky. And they were interviewing Don Elkins and Carla Rueckert about the one great original thought, about UFO contact. not what the UFOs looked like, but what the message was that they were getting. And so that's what got me excited about seeing if I could meet them. And I belong to a food buying co-op, and later on, I talked to some of the folks there about that. And they said, well, we're members of their Sunday night meditation, so we'll introduce you. So that's how I got to know them. That's why I moved to the land, was to try to start that same site of school. So that was basically it.
Right. So once Mother Earth is fully stabilized into the fourth density, I assume that the remaining third density souls would have to reincarnate in some other third density planet. Is that right?
Right, right. And in fact, it seems that that's the case with many of the population of planet Earth now. Most of the 8 billion or so entities have not made the graduation on other third density planets. They've chosen to come to planet Earth to try again. And sometimes it's more difficult the longer you go without making the harvest or the graduation. And so that could be some of the problems we're dealing with, because they have to deal with those problems that kept them from making their harvest or graduation on their first planet. So a lot of the population of Earth is repeating. And those that do not make the graduation here will also have to do the same thing, find another third density planet and try again.
Right. So does it mean that after we are fully integrated into the fourth density, then Earth would have first, second, and fourth density beings, but no third density beings?
Right. Ross suggested that for a certain period of time, the third density would be deactivated. Mm-hmm. And that was the reason, because it would take the new fourth density population a period of time, as we know it, to learn to become invisible to the any third density population. Because if a third density population was here at the same time and could see the fourth density entities, then they would know there was something beyond what they were living in, and that would make it too easy for them. So there would be a period. Rod didn't really say how long it would be, just that would be necessary.
That makes sense, right? So I have this question about the wanderers. So why do fourth, sixth, fifth, or sixth density entities who decide to come back to Earth, why do they have to suffer? Because in my understanding, I think that, they no longer have earthly karma. They don't have to carry a karmic baggage like how a third density soul would. So why do souls, and for example, Carla, why did she have to go through all those physical illness? There's no necessity of catalyst for her, right?
Well, the service to others philosophy that we are trying to learn, and everybody's trying to learn on Earth, is how to give of ourselves to others more than 51% of the time. And when that is possible, then we are able to graduate into the fourth density. So all entities in the fourth, fifth, and sixth density continue with that desire to be of service to others. And they see the pain and suffering on Earth as a great way to be of service, because they see it as a chance to help relieve that pain and suffering. But in order to do that in a way that is most, balanced, and in the way of the wanderer has to go through that same forgetting, so that they can awaken at some point and discover that they're here for a purpose. They have a mission. And that mission is to help relieve the suffering on the planet. And each wanderer brings with him or her various skills. The first one is just basically lightening the vibrations of the planet Earth, which we're causing our Mother Earth a great deal of distress with all of our wars and dissension and inability to come together and as Ross said, point the needle in one direction. So the wanderer has a chance to do this. And I think that a lot of wanderers have been able to discover that they have this mission. They might not discover they are a wanderer, but they do have that inner drive, that knowing beyond the veil of forgetting in their subconscious minds that there is a higher way, a better way to open the heart in service to others without any expectation of return. So I hope that answered your question.
So one of the questions that my audience had was, what if you are the one who's like a victim that the negatively polarized person is using as an energy source. At the same time, you decide to move towards the positive polarity. How do you handle the situation? What's the best thing to do then?
You're talking about a third density person that's having a problem
Yes.
with negative? Okay.
Yes.
Well, Ross suggested if anyone feels that they are being subject of psychic greetings or psychic attacks, being used by negative entities, if they are on the if they're fourth density or above, and you cannot see them, then in meditation you send them love and light and wish them well, and then put an armor of light around yourself. And that is usually something that a negative entity does not like. They do not like to be loved. They want your power, not your love.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you're dealing with a negative person of third density and they're using you in some way, then that's catalyst for your own growth. And probably somewhere in your pre-incarnative choices, you made that a possibility of a way of using that catalyst as food for growth, processing it, speaking clearly with another and letting them know what your feelings are and asking them, why are they treating you that way? So that's what everybody has to go through, whether it's a negative person or your mom or your dad, your neighbor, your teacher, a stranger on the street. When problems arise, we need to be able to work them out.
I have a couple of questions about sexual energy transfer. So, what if one partner is full of love and the other is not reciprocating the love? Is there a possibility for the one who is in love to acquire a blockage in one of the energy centers?
I believe Ross spoke to that point by saying that if the one who has the positive love energy that gives it out and gives it to someone who does not have the green ray energy activated, then the energy transfer will only be the energy that that person has for itself, because they are transferring it to another. And so that cannot be reciprocated. If the other also had their green ray open and both were there, then the energy would be doubled between the two of them. But if one of them does not have the heart open, then there's only the energy of the positive entity, or the one with the heart open, that goes to the one with the heart open. And the one with the heart not open gets that energy, but they may not be aware of it because their heart is not open. The heart not being open suggests that one of their lower energy centers is blocked. It's usually it's usually the orange, but it can be the yellow as well. Yellow works with groups, and the orange works with individual one-to-one energy and getting to know another person on a one-to-one basis. So very likely it would be a blockage of the orange, but the yellow could be blocked. The red could be blocked too, the survival and the basic sexual energy exchange.
I get it. How do we heal or cure an illness we get from connecting sexually with the wrong people?
I guess you just have to be very practical about it and go to a physician. Or in addition to that, it could be that you try to meditate and look within yourself to see why that contact was made, what that disease means to you, how it's affecting you, and how you could use it for catalyst. But you also might want to go see a physician.
True that. So there was another question that's asking, what if it is not an actual intercourse, but two people coming together, say maybe they are they're caressing each other and they are into a stage where they both have orgasm. So even in that stage, would we say that there is an energy transfer, or does energy transfer is only when there's an actual intercourse?
No, I believe that would be a transfer of energy, whether there's intercourse or not.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to get to the point of the energy centers now. So can you please define or perhaps differentiate activation, clearing, balancing, and crystallization of the energy centers?
Well, I think the activation of any energy center is just being able to be aware of the various, the quality of that center. I think the red energy center is pretty much activated because it deals with our sexuality and our sense of survival. And that's basically what any animal in the animal world would feel. So our bodies are basically the animal we travel through our incarnations with. So I think the red is pretty much standard. It's activated and open to receive the prana or the love light of the creator. And then for the orange, then there would have to be a feeling of knowing a little bit about who you are, accepting yourself as one individual, and then relating to another individual, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, a friend, a teacher, and have a one-to-one relationship. So if that could be carried out in a harmonious manner, that would suggest that the center is open and activated. If it couldn't be carried out harmoniously and you have difficulty relating with other people one-to-one, then that would suggest there's a blockage. And that's where you would need to use the catalyst. Well, why is that happening? Why am I having difficulty with these people? Now, most people wouldn't look at it that way. If they're not conscious, aware, spiritual seekers, they wouldn't look at their own being as being the reason for that. They would probably blame someone else. So this is something that you have to be consciously aware that this is a process that we can go through and use it for growth. So if you could do that and have that kind of a clear one-to-one communication, then that would be activated. And to activate the yellow ray of groups, then you would look at the groups you're in, at school, the classroom, at work, if you're on a team, in sports, in your community, whatever group you're part of. If you can function as a helpful member of that group and have the group's goals as part of your goals and help everybody in the group to achieve those goals, then that would be a signal that your yellow ray is open and activated. And you could welcome more of the prana or the love light of the creator. If you could not do that, then you would need, again, if you're a conscious seeker, to look at what the reason was. And whatever the reason was, use it as catalyst, as food for growth. And then as far as the activation of the green ray energy center, that is something that happens when you are successful with all of the three lower, the red, the orange, and the yellow. And then as you are able to see the creator and everyone around you, you see them as the creator, just the same as you are. That signals that your green ray energy center is open and active. But that has to be your experience in order for the green to be open. Then as far as the blue goes, that's where we see more of the creator in ourselves and in others. And we speak clearly, our communication, that's the throat chakra. And that's where we communicate clearly to others, and we listen to their clear communications to others, to us. And that is something that is usually considered the work of the adept. It's a work in consciousness. It's not something that's necessary to make the graduation into the fourth density. But if you have been able to open your heart and see the love and the light of the creator everywhere, then you can go forward and work on the blue. And the indigo then is that where you see that you have the intelligent energy of the creator, the logos in miniature, the love of the creator is active within your being. And you seek to serve all with every fiber of your being. And that is something that can activate the spirit's shuttle to go into the violet ray, that is seeing the creator within yourself and having experience of the creator. And that is also something that can give you the ability to create changes in consciousness at will. And so that, and also Ross said that the violet ray was kind of a readout of all of the lower energy centers, so that when we drop our bodies and walk into the light at the end of our incarnations, then the light measures our ability to accept the greater intensity of the fourth density light by looking at our violet ray energy center.
Okay, so activation is what we would call as the conscious awareness of the person of each of these qualities, right?
Right. balancing exercises are something that if you are a conscious seeker of truth, you can use if you are aware of any kind of a blockage in any of the energy centers. And you look at what is blocking. If you're having a problem with another person, there's some anger there, you feel anger, they feel anger for you, then in your meditations, you can relive that experience where there was anger for you or you for someone else. And Ross suggested the way to do that was to intensify the original experience so that it's huge, that you overdo it. You just make it, you blow it up so that it's really available to you. You can see it in every dimension, every fiber of your being. And then for just an instant, you visualize the opposite, love or acceptance. And you let that get just as large by itself. And then when that's accomplished, then you accept yourself for having both of those ways, for the creator to know itself and for you to know yourself. And this is a process that Ross suggested can take a lifetime or many lifetimes. The whole purpose of it is to know yourself, accept yourself, and to become the creator. The creator is a 360-degree being. The creator is all things. So if you go through all of the emotions, positive and negative, that you have in your lifetime and balance them, then you're attempting to become that 360-degree being.
And what would be crystallization exactly?
Well, that's a good question. Ra mentioned that the centers could be crystallized, but I've never really understood what a center would look like or feel like if it were crystallized. So I'm sorry, I can't give you a better answer on that one.
In one case, Kaur states that when the Kundalini energy reaches the indigo ray chakra, then that's when our fourth density body is activated. So until I got to that point, I was under the assumption that it's the green ray chakra that needs to be activated. So is there a disconnect in my understanding? Are these two separate events? Is green ray chakra activation one event? Is it separate from energy flowing to the indigo ray chakra?
I believe there's a difference between the two. I think they can operate independent of each other. But in order for the indigo ray to be activated, the heart has to be activated. Mm. But in order for the heart to fully function, the indigo doesn't need to be activated.
Okay. So at several places, it's repeated that working on the higher chakras without clearing the blockages in the lower energy centers is going to invite a great imbalance.
Right.
And in one of the places, it says that what they mean exactly by working on the higher chakras is kind of activating the indigo ray chakra. Do you have another definition of what exactly it means to work on the higher energy centers? Practically, I mean.
Well, I've never really totally understood that, but I think what Rob was talking about is that we have to build a firm foundation in the lower energy centers to handle the higher energy centers' energy. And if we don't have that foundation, if we try to go too far too fast and to activate the blue or the indigo especially without having that firm foundation, then we can kind of lose contact with reality. And I think they gave Adolf Hitler as an example of that, of trying to go too far too fast. And they reminded us that that is not helpful for anyone, positive or negative.
Right. And in the Eastern traditions, at least, I've heard people saying that even as a beginner, when they try to meditate, it's said that you need to focus on the third eye center, the indigo ray center. Would that be, do you think that can be considered as working on the higher energy center?
I think there are many, many different ways to meditate. And I don't think there's any one that says, well, there might be some that say to focus on the indigo ray, which is the way I meditate. But I don't think that's necessary. I think the thing of meditation that is the most important is to realize that in your meditation, you are making contact with the creator, with the intelligent infinity, whatever you want to call it, God or spirit. because, as Carla said, in those meditations, you are giving information that is too deep to be described in words. So you will be given directions and feelings, and that contact with the Creator can help you when you're going through your daily round of activities to have that direction subconsciously and maybe consciously operating in your life. So I think in general, that is what meditation is for. The Confederation has always suggested to meditate. And, but like I said, there are lots of different ways to meditate. And I think it's the intention of meditation that is most important. Apparently, it is possible. And apparently, Adolf Hitler did. But I don't know how they would do that. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how any energy center can be activated. But I think that the more we open our hearts to these surroundings and see that them as a creator, then that has to be done by having the red, orange, and yellow open and fully functioning. Now, as to the ones above that, I think, again, the foundation is built as you go up. But as to being able to open them before you've done that, I don't know how that's done, but apparently it's possible.
It's possible. All right. So since the blue ray is connected to communication and honesty, say, I have this confusion. Would we say that all public speakers have their blue ray activated? We can't say that, right?
I would say that some portion of the blue would have to be activated. I mean, I don't know what the difference would be between total activation and partial, but I mean, so many people are speakers and give lectures and talks to teachers, and ministers and priests, head of any organization, even in the army and the military. So I guess it would have to be some sort of activation of the blue in order for that to occur. But I don't know how that would fit in with building the base below that. No, I can't give you an answer on that.
Because we can see that they might not necessarily have their heart chakra activated in that case, but still they can be good speakers. So this has always been a point that has been confusing to me.
Yeah, well, negatively oriented entities do not feel the heart chakra is worth activating at all. But I'm sure there's some of those that are, speakers, and so I don't think the heart would have to be activated for a negative entity. So, I don't think I can go any further with that. I don't know.
I get it. So can you say that saints or sages, at least in the ancient times, if not today, who have reached oneness with the Creator, up to what density level can we say that they would have reached? Can we say that they have activated their seventh density bodies from Earth, or is it even possible? Because Ra only talks about dual energy body activation, right?
Yeah, I think that those, throughout all of history and all religions and all countries, there have been those who have been able to have what might be called an enlightening experience, a unitive experience. They have become, I guess Jesus and Buddha and Allah would probably be good examples that they have become that which they sought. And when Jesus said, when you hear me speak, you're not hearing me, you're hearing the Father that sent me. And I think that would be true of all of the sages throughout all of history in the countries and religions. So that enlightening experience, I think, is what we're all really hoping for. It's not necessary for graduation, but it's something that can be achieved here in the third density.
In her book, Living the Law of 1101, Carla mentions at many places that she's been trying to work on her next two books, 102 and 103, and I think unfortunately we couldn't get them before she passed away. But the topics that she had mentioned that she would be covering in her next two books, I think they were like highly valuable, practically valuable for people. So is anyone in your team trying to take up her incomplete work?
Yes, I've done that. I've written both 102 and 103, and I've made an audiobook out of 102. And I think Austin said is going to be available sometime in the next couple of months as an audiobook and as a paperback. And just now, I've already written 103, and I'm just about ready to begin recording it as an audiobook, I think sometime in the next week or two.
And in session 4, Ra talks about two kinds of healers. And I couldn't quite get the difference between the two kinds of healers.
Well, I think the type of healer that Ross suggests that is a good idea to try to become is one that realizes that the healer does not heal. The healer helps the one to be healed to heal him or herself, so that the creator can work through the one that is being the healer to go to the one that's being healed. And that healing will be a lasting healing. Now, the other type of healing that Ra talked about, I believe, was the yellow ray, the laying on of hands, so that there is a momentarily changed person or disease or limitation, but it wears off because the one who's giving that type of healing thinks he or she is the healer. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't work for very long.
So the difference is basically with the intention of the healer, is it?
The knowledge of the healer, that the healer is just a vehicle through which the energies go. Mm-hmm. And they don't come from that person. They come from that creator through the healer to the one to be healed, to activate the creator within the one to be healed.
That makes sense. Thank you. And this is a weird question. Are atheists who say that there is no God at all, but they can be kind, compassionate, and absolutely loving towards everyone, would they still be choosing the positive polarity?
I believe our actions speak louder than words. Mm-hmm. So I think, yes, in spite of their not believing that there is a creator or a God, they are behaving like the creator or the God at the best of their ability to be.
Got it. So, also that's all the questions that I have for now, but the law of one is so extensive, and I'm still going through passage after passage every day. So in case if I have more questions, or if my audience have more questions in the future, can I request for another meeting?
Oh, definitely. I'd be glad to meet anytime you want to.
Thank you. Is there anything that you would like to tell, Jim? Anything else? Now, like practically, how can people clear their energy centers, or move faster towards becoming that fourth density being? Do you have any practical advices for people?
Well, the balancing exercises that I was talking about, looking at your daily round of activities, mm-hmm. at the end of the day in meditation, and whatever took you off of your path of love, whether it was really exciting and totally positive, or down low and angry and negative, we all need to be balanced so that love is our response to whatever happens to us. So I would suggest using those balancing exercises in meditation at the end of the day. It's just a kind of a rule of thumb, something that we continue doing throughout our lives.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Jim. Thank you so much for your time, for your humble presence, and for sharing your 50 years of wisdom.
It's my pleasure. And anytime you want to get together, I'd be glad to do it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jim. I hope to connect with you again one day.
All right. Well, hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
And my love and light to all of your group.
Thank you so much.